We're going to have Shabbos tomorrow in Parshas Chaia. It's also following the 164th birthday of the Rebbe Rashab. He starts to say the second time around in the Tehillim, chapter 15. And the Rebbe spoke in 1989 very strongly about connecting to the Rebbe Rashab on his birthday, going into the institutions of the Rebbe Rashab, especially the yeshivas, the Tomchei Temimim that he established that are still standing and working and operating worldwide, especially in Eretz Yisrael, and how one should also study one of the main Hasidic teachings of the Rebbe Rashab, the Maimer HaCholzu, that deals with the Klipa, the impurity of Midian, the battle of Midian that the Jewish people had to do before they were able to enter into Eretz Yisrael, into the land, the first time with Joshua. And that battle had to be done by Moshe, and all the Jewish people had to participate in the battle of Midian. And the Rebbe discusses there the Klipa of Midian. The Klipa of Midian is baseless hate. The idea that you hate a person or you can't stand another person just for the fact that they exist, just the very fact that they take up any space that you feel that you should be able to fill up, whether it's in your getting attention from you or taking away attention from you or having more success than you, whatever it is. This baseless hate of Midian and something that the Jewish people had to deal with before they were able to go into the land. So too, it's the Rebbe Rashab said that the destruction of the Beis HaMikdash is based on baseless hate. And the only way we're going to be able to go into the time of Mashiach, the second and main entrance into Eretz Yisrael, with the Geula Mitzvah, with the redemption, with Mashiach, we're going to have to deal with the issue of Midian, the baseless hate. And this is also very much connected to this week's Parsha. This week's Parsha, we learn about Sarah and Avram, especially the death of Sarah. Like the Rebbe, like we learned in the Sikha this morning about from 1987 and Tafshim Mem Ches, where the Rebbe talks about that that even though we learn about the passing of Sarah and things that happened after her life, nevertheless, this Parsha is called Chaia, the life of Sarah, because when we want to understand who Sarah was, is like we said last week, Sarah was unlike Avram, who was above creation, so to say, above the chain of creation, above the limitations of creation. Avram Avinu wasn't taken captive in Egypt, wasn't taken captive by Avimelech, and nevertheless, it was Sarah who went down to the world. She was able to engage and deal with worldly things, and to understand and appreciate the influence that she had as how things remained after her life. The very fact, like the Rebbe says, to the purchase of the Maris HaMachpelah of Hebron, the beginning of the ownership of Eretz Yisrael by the Jewish people in a public way. That Avram went publicly in front of all the people of Ches, and he bought and he purchased the land in Eretz Yisrael. And the marriage of Yitzchak and Rivka, which represents the beginning of Torah mitzvahs, that through the establishment of the Jewish people, which is by Sarah having a child, and Sarah's child getting married and starting a family, and having Yaakov and his family, is the continuation of the Jewish people and the purpose of creation, of receiving the Torah and coming back to Eretz Yisrael. So these two main goals for the Jewish people, which is the conquering and living in Eretz Yisrael and receiving and living a life of Torah mitzvahs, is a continuation and a legacy of Sarah's life. And when you want to understand the success of Sarah in her life, is how she influences things afterwards. And that's very much connected to what the Rebbe Rashab is telling us, that we want to go forward in life. We want to go forward into accomplishing positive things, no matter how challenging it is. But dealing with baseless issues like hate, jealousy, things of Midian, petty things that pushes a person down, pushes away the redemption, pushes away building and uniting. Midian is all about separating. Sarah was uniting people, putting people together as a Jewish people, like we say, Aten mitzavim hayom kulchem, that when we stand together, we're able to bring all the parts, the 10 parts of the Jewish people, all the 7 parts of the menorah, all the 70 children of Yaakov, to be able to in a way of unity, to conquer Eretz Yisrael and to conquer the world and make, like the Rebbe, the Tzemach Tzedek said, Machta Eretz Yisrael. That started with the life and then after the life of Sarah. That's what we're celebrating this week's Parsha. And that's what happens with Yitzchak. Yitzchak finds Rivka. Rivka's also the strength of Rivka that we learn about in next week's Parsha, that she has to make difficult decisions even within her own family. When she has 2 sons, when there's Yitzchak wants to bless Esav, she has the clarity, knowing also where she comes from. Like Sarah, she's a person of the world. She grew up, she was born in the house of Besuel. Her brother was Lavan. She was able to identify the character flaws of people and to understand, instead of looking at it and falling into the trap of it, but to be above it and to be able to know what we have to do in order to go forward. And that's why it says about Rivka that she represents Torah, she represents strength represents a solid marriage, and I want to wish everyone and the power of these two great women of Sarah and Rivka and of Klal Yisrael, we should have a unity, we should be able to taka together, come back to Yisrael in the way of strength, and with the Geula Mitzvah Shlema B'Karv Ma'amash Shabbos.